Streaming live now on News8000.com. You're watching WKBT La Crosse. This is News 8 Now, This Morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dua Esrar.
And I'm Derek Sibley.
It is October 17th, 2023. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. We made it through Monday.
Made it through Monday. We're pretty halfway through the week.
Almost halfway through the week?
Almost halfway through the week.
We're getting there.
We're really counting everything down.
We are. And, you know, I'm counting down to get through this fog, too.
Yes.
It is so annoying, that fog.
It is.
Man.
Kind of dangerous.
It
you know,
is.
you really don't have a whole lot of visibility. I was driving down and it was kind of, I was like, wow, can't see a whole lot.
You really
got to
can't.
drive a little slow out there if you're driving this morning.
Yeah, definitely good advice there. And also use your low beam headlights too. You'll definitely need that here this morning. Check out the visibility reports coming in now. We're anywhere between 0 to 1 mile in many spots out there. 1 mile currently being reported in La Crosse and also in Eau Claire. In addition to that, frost advisories in effect for Jackson, Monroe, Juneau, and Adams County until 7 o'clock this morning. That's because temperatures here are around freezing, could result into some frost, which could kill sensitive outdoor vegetation if left uncovered. So try to protect them from the cold if you can. Current temperatures are into the low 30s and even the upper 20s off towards the east. But in La Crosse, we're currently at 39, Eau Claire at 30, Winona at 37. Here's a check now on your forecast today. After we get through that fog, which again should evaporate here by the late morning, we're talking about a mix of sun and clouds through the rest of the day today with temperatures well into the low 60s and light southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Dog walking forecast today, foggy start this morning and then turning mostly sunny for the afternoon. So I think the afternoon and evening is looking good here for walking conditions for us to work with today. But I'll have a check on your Schoolcast plus another check on that full weather forecast. We'll talk about some upcoming rain chances later this week. Dua?
Thanks, Derek. Well, let's get to some news this morning. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. According to the American Cancer Society, only a small number of women younger than 45 are diagnosed with breast cancer. An Onalaska woman is one of them. News 8 Now's Jeremy Wall has the story.
Allison Harris was outside gardening one day when she knew something wasn't right.
I just happened to reach for a tool that was just a little farther out of the way. So then that meant that like my arm pressed into my left breast in a way that it normally wouldn't have in any other activity. And I just thought, wow, ouch, that's different.
Harris was diagnosed with breast cancer in July, but she found the lump before her diagnosis.
When I first found the lump, I found it on myself during a self-check, and it was pretty scary because you hear all these stories about breast cancer and you never think about what is going to happen to me.
According to the American Cancer Society, breast cancer is the second most leading cause of death in women. It brought Harris back to a familiar place. Not only is she a patient at Gunderson, she works there too. Harris is the health system's medical media manager. When she needed help, she was confident her employer would guide her through the journey.
Once we landed on a diagnosis, my providers at Gunderson, my care team, have been really great about putting together the plan, and the plan is 6 months of chemotherapy. And right now, I've just crossed the halfway point of that.
No matter how challenging breast cancer gets, Harris is staying strong.
Something important that I tell myself all the time during this journey is that it's all temporary.
She's also not hiding her illness.
My skin breaks out, my face is puffy, but I want people to see me because this is what cancer treatment looks like.
Most importantly, she's not giving up and has taken extra measures to make sure the disease is gone for good.
After chemotherapy is finished in late January, I'm going to have a double mastectomy and reconstructive surgery.
Harris also encourages everyone to do self-breast exams. She says if she waited until the age that women are recommended to get a mammogram, she thinks her cancer could have been a lot worse. Well, people across the Coulee region flocked to Viterbo University to hear the president's own United States Marine Band. The group stopped by as a part of their annual tour. The band was established by an act of Congress in 1798. At 225 years old, the group is the oldest continuously active professional musical organization in America. Their main goal is to provide music for the President of the United States. It's an annual tradition for the band to tour throughout the month of October. In 31 days, the band plays 29 concerts. The director says the tour is a fun change of pace for the group.
We have so much fun getting out away from Washington, out into these communities, performing for thousands of people every night. Every night feels like a special event. It's truly one of the most motivating things that we do all year, whether in Washington or anywhere else.
The director estimates that they play music at the White House over 300 times a year. All members are active duty Marines, but their contracts have them permanently stationed in D.C. It was a roaring night out at the Holman Library last night. The library hosted a 1920s jazz night that was open to the public. The night featured a 1920s dress-up contest, mocktails, blackjack, and even 20s-style dance lessons. Rebecca Washek, the adult services librarian at Holman, says this was a night for sparking people's imagination.
I am excited to see people have fun and walk into another part of time and learn something, and also just to be imaginative themselves.
Guests had the chance to win prizes like candy bars from the 1920s and movie tickets that were donated by the Rivoli Theater. The La Crosse County Library System technically started in 1923, which is why they decided on a 1920s theme to celebrate. The holiday train is making its way back to the Coulee region. The train will be in the La Crosse area on December 5th. Known for its brightly decorated cars and professional live music concerts, the train begins its 2023 tour on November 20th. The tour aims to raise money and awareness for food banks. It also makes a donation to a local food shelf at each of its stops. For more details on where and when it will be stopping throughout the Coulee region, head to our website, news8000.com. Well, still ahead on your morning news, a major drugstore chain is closing down. We'll look at why and tell you what chain it is just ahead. And a new AI detection app is trying to keep up with the advancements being made in the ever-evolving and controversial technology. We'll take a look at how the app can help you determine what's real and what's fake. That and more is coming up this morning, but for now we're sending you to break with something to put the good in your morning. For all you carb lovers out there, this one's for you. October is National Pasta Month and Tuesday is National Pasta Day. Pasta, of course, is a staple of traditional Italian cuisine. Historians trace the dish back to the ancient Romans with over 300 varieties. It has spread to cultures around the world. To celebrate National Pasta Day, a number of national chains are offering special deals. Here in La Crosse, that includes Olive Garden, Fazoli's, and Noodles & Company. Don't go anywhere. Your consumer news at News 8 Now this morning is after the break.
Well, it sure is a very foggy start here this morning, as you can see from our visibility reports coming in. Anywhere between 0 to 1 mile in many spots is where some of the lower visibilities are currently being measured, such as Eau Claire at 1 mile and La Crosse currently coming in at 1 mile. So reduce your braking distance and turn on those low beam headlights and give yourself extra time this morning for that commute. Also, we're talking about frost advisories for our eastern communities for Jackson, Monroe, east into Adams and Juneau County until 7 o'clock this morning. Try to protect your plants by either covering them up or try to bring them inside if you can, so they're not completely exposed to these temperatures off to the east, as you can see, into the low 30s. We got 39 though in La Crosse, so it's a bit warmer to the west. In Eau Claire, you're currently much colder than that though at 30 degrees. So for your zone forecast today, we're going to be looking at high temperatures a little bit more mild here this afternoon into the mid 60s. 64 today in both La Crosse and Berry Mills. Heading south into Soldiers Grove, you're at 65. Baroque was at 62 today, and Stoddard will be at 65 degrees. Heading north now into Melrose, you'll be at 63, 64 today in Arcadia, and 62 in Osseo. Highs into the upper 50s further east, but lower 60s back towards the Eau Claire area here today. Your bus stop forecast very foggy, 39 degrees to start. On the way back home, temperatures at 62 and partly cloudy. I'll have a check on that full weather forecast coming up in a few minutes, and we'll talk about some rain chances later this week.
In your consumer news this morning, the federal government is suing social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, for wrongful termination of employees. According to the National Labor Relations Board, X had told employees that not showing up for work in person would be treated the same as resigning. When an employee told coworkers on Slack that they would not resign, the company fired that person. The NLRB says the employee was engaged in concerted action, which is protected by federal law. It's defined as 2 or more employees coming together to address workplace issues. Oil prices are on the rise due to growing crisis in the Middle East. U.S. oil price benchmark West Texas Intermediate rose by 30 cents to just under $89 per barrel last week. Meanwhile, the international benchmark rose to $91.20. Some experts predict that global oil prices will hit $100 per barrel. That's due to fears that Israel's war with Hamas may spread to other countries in the Middle East. Rite Aid is filing for bankruptcy. The company is dealing with the fallout of a series of legal battles that accused it of unlawfully filing opioid prescriptions. On Thursday, the company told the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission that it would be unable to file a quarterly financial report. Rite Aid officials say they plan to shut down some stores and sell off others. The company has taken a $3.5 billion loan in the meantime. As the advancement of artificial intelligence grows, so does technology to detect what's real and what isn't. CBS's Danya Bacchus introduces us to a new AI detecting tool and why experts believe it may be hard to keep up with the technology.
Let's say, for example,
as a professional music producer and songwriter, Steven Stahl is concerned about the impact artificial intelligence could have on his industry.
Instead of having to come up with a great song on a guitar or a piano, you can just prompt in, hi, I want to write a song like Halo by Beyonce.
Stahl and a technical partner created I Spy, an app he says can detect speech and audio authenticity.
I wanted to know if I was listening to an AI vocal or a human vocal.
Hey there, it's Danya.
After taking a sample of my voice, he showed how AI can recreate my voice to sound exactly like me.
Hi, my name is Danya. I am a news reporter.
I Spy was able to determine what I said versus what AI created.
So this is basically saying that all of it was AI.
There are other AI detectors that can determine if writing or images are produced by humans or computers, but tech experts say it becomes harder as AI evolves.
It's a cat and mouse game.
Arun Ross is a professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Michigan State University.
If we can detect something that is synthetic today, we may not be able to use that same method to detect synthetic images or synthetic voices tomorrow, because AI can start producing images that are more realistic, that are more human-like.
Hey there.
Stahl says the app isn't always perfect, like the one time it thought my voice was AI generated.
Depending on where the source material is, we're in the high 90s.
But he says they continuously update the app to make sure it can detect the difference between what's fake
I am excited
and what's real.
But don't worry.
Stephen hopes the technology will eventually be used by telecom companies to help people determine if someone calling is real or AI generated. Well, that's it for your morning news. Let's check in with our not AI meteorologist, Derek Sibley, for today's forecast.
That's right, a real human being giving you the weather forecast for today. Who would have thought, right? This generation of AI. Well, it's a very foggy start here. That hasn't changed. So we're talking about visibility reports anywhere between 0 to 3 miles this morning in many spots. La Crosse is currently at 1 mile, and so is Eau Claire. So make sure to give yourself extra time this morning and turn on those low beam headlights on your commute. 39 degrees is the temperature now in La Crosse with all the fog here around. Very foggy in Eau Claire as well. Visibility at 1 mile, 30 degrees, your temperature, and a light north-northeast wind at 3 miles an hour. Frost advisories also in effect for Jackson, Monroe, into Adams and Juneau County until 7 o'clock this morning. So if you do have outdoor sensitive plants or vegetation in general, try to protect them by bringing them inside, or at the very least try to cover them up so they're not completely exposed to these temperatures, which, by the way, are near the freezing mark. Some spots are below the freezing mark in Volkfield at 28 degrees. So let's get checked now on your planner. We'll be at 55 and mostly sunny. That's after the fog clears out at noon, and then briefly turning mostly cloudy but warmer with temperatures at 64, mostly clear and 54 degrees by 8 o'clock this evening, with forecast highs expected to reach the low to even mid-60s in some spots. I think the mid-60s will be from La Crosse into Winona, but the low 60s into the Chippewa Valley and also into some spots down to the south. But we could see the mid to upper 60s, Prairie Sheen and Bosquebel this afternoon. So Sky Tracker showing all the foggy skies, looking to clear though by around 10 o'clock this morning. We may see a few clouds sneak in here again as we head into this afternoon. The clouds are going to start to increase, though, again, with a slight chance of rain as we head into tonight into early tomorrow morning. That's all associated with this next low pressure system that I'm tracking that's expected to move in here as we head into the day tomorrow. And you can see it will help increase the clouds. Not only that, but also giving us some scattered rain chances to work with as we head into tomorrow afternoon, which will linger as we head into tomorrow night as well. And in fact, we may even see some rain chances that could linger on the 8-day forecast into Friday, as you'll notice there. But then after that, we're turning drier as we head into this weekend. Highs into the 50s and low 60s, and that trend continues into early next week as well, with low temperatures mainly into the 40s. Don't forget, too, you can also download that free First Warn Weather app on the Google Play or the Apple App Store. You get all those current weather conditions, hourly conditions, the forecast. You can sign up for push alerts, and you can even get the 8-day forecasts right there on your fingertips as well. All right, stay with us. We're back with much more news and weather still to come on News 8 Now this morning. For now, we're sending it a break with a look what happened on this day in history for October 17th. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Blitz. It's hard to believe the Wisconsin high school football regular season's already over, but now the real fun begins. Level 1 kicks off in just 3 days. We have a ton of teams in our area that are going to get a chance to compete for a state title. We'll start the show highlighting the teams who'll be at home on Friday night for their Level 1 matchups. Let's start in D2. Riverhawks wrapped up the regular season by keeping the arc at Central High. A big win over rival Logan puts the Riverhawks at 8-1 on the season. They get a 4 seed in Division 2. They'll be at home Friday night taking on DeForest. In Division 3, a big-time MVC presence will be on display Friday night. The Toma Timberwolves made a statement in Week 9, 38-13 victory over rival Onalaska. T-Wolves will be at home hosting Baraboo. As for the Hilltoppers, they get a home game as well. They'll take on Rhinelander Friday night. How about those Spartans? They'll be home in Level 1 as they get set to clash with Lakeland. In Division 4, West Salem finishes the year 6-3. Panthers get a 4 seed. They'll be at home hosting Adams Friendship. In Division 5, the back-to-back state champs will be looking for a 3-peat as top-seeded Aquinas begins its playoff run against New Glarus Monticello. Blue Golds could run into their conference rivals in Level 2. Westby gets the 4 seed. Norseman will take on Watertown Luther Prep. Prairie du Chien gets a 2 seed. Blackhawks will battle Clinton. In D6, Luther gets a home game. Knights will clash with Coleman. And finally, in Division 7, this bracket is loaded. Top-seeded Cashton begins its playoff run at home against Blair Taylor. Undefeated Dairyland Conference champs Pepin Alma gets the 2 seed. Eagles will be at home hosting Melrose Mindoro. Bangor's right behind them. Cardinals are the 3. They'll welcome in Royal. CFC will be on the road taking on New Lisbon. A jam-packed Level 1 just 3 days away from a playoff edition of the Friday Night Frenzy. But that's Friday. The high school volleyball postseason begins tonight. We have a lot of area teams going head-to-head to open up the first round of regional action. In D2, Logan's at home hosting Mauston. Number 2 seed West Salem is looking to get back to the state tournament. Panthers are home taking on Black River Falls. In D3, Aquinas is a 2 seed. Blue Golds will clash with Melman. And the Norsemen get the 3 seed. Westby will take on conference rival Luther to kick off the playoff. Should be a fun night of postseason action. Want to give a big shout out to Aquinas' Danica Silcox, the senior, putting on a show this season, and she caps it off with a 3rd place finish in the individual state tournament this past weekend in Madison. Next up for the Blue Golds, the team state tournament. Aquinas gets the 4 seed in Division 2. It's the Blue Golds' first appearance at the state tourney since 2006. It's the 5th time overall in school history. That's going to do it for the Blitz. We'll see you tonight.
You expect more, so thank you for watching News 8 Now.
Later today, President Biden will depart Washington to head to Israel. White House officials say he will express support for Israel and make a push to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. The United Nations warns that the crisis there is worsening as Israel's military is preparing for a ground invasion. More than 4,200 people have been killed on both sides since the violence began more than a week ago, 30 of them Americans in Israel. CBS News correspondent Ian Lee is on the ground in Tel Aviv with the latest.
As the violence in the Middle East enters its second week, President Biden is set to land in Israel tomorrow.
He's coming here at a critical moment.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who announced the visit while on his second trip to Tel Aviv in less than a week, said the president will be briefed on Israel's war plans and will coordinate on efforts to release hostages held by Hamas.
President Biden is also expected to work with leaders on plans to get humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza.
No supplies have come into Gaza since the 7th of October.
The United Nations says more than 1 million Palestinians have fled from the north to the south in Gaza over the past 2 days, amid continued Israeli airstrikes and a buildup of troops for a ground invasion. Hundreds of tons of aid remain stuck on the Egyptian side.
They cannot pay the price of Hamas barbarism.
Fighting is also intensifying around Israel's border with Lebanon against Iran-backed Hezbollah. President Biden has warned Iran and other outside actors not to take advantage of the conflict, a warning he plans to repeat when he arrives tomorrow.
President Biden is also expected to travel to Jordan while he's in the Middle East to meet with King Abdullah as well as Egyptian and Palestinian leaders. The head of U.S. Central Command, General Michael Eric Karola, arrived in Israel today to meet with Israeli leadership. The U.S. has 2 carrier strike groups and other military assets positioned near Israel as deterrents. The U.S. Supreme Court has issued a new ruling that would allow the federal government to regulate ghost guns. A ghost gun is a firearm that does not have serial numbers and does not require a background check to buy one. Sale or possession of ghost guns, but will allow for the federal government to enforce federal gun laws on the unregistered firearms. The new ruling will only be in effect while legal challenges are being brought up in the lower court. The price for a COVID-19 medication is expected to rise next year. The life-saving antiviral drug Paxlovid will go from being free for everyone through the government purchases to costing an estimated $530 prior before insurance. Those who are Medicare, Medicaid, or are still uninsured will be able to receive Paxlovid for free through a patient assistance program. A new study is looking into how an oral immunotherapy used on small children with peanut allergies can possibly help prevent severe allergic reactions when accidentally exposed to tree nuts. Mandy Gaither takes a look at the new research and how food allergies can possibly affect a child's life.
It's one of the most common causes of severe allergy attack. Peanut allergies can affect all aspects of a child's life.
They can spend a lot of time worried about having a true allergic, life-threatening allergic reactions. So it can be really difficult for these kids.
Dr. Sandra Hong with Cleveland Clinic says food allergies can also lead to isolation, even bullying.
We can't have parties in the classroom anymore, or we're not allowed to have the really fun treats anymore because there's someone who has a milk allergy or a peanut allergy.
Hong is one of the authors of a study researching how oral immunotherapy may help. It's a therapy where researchers expose young children under the age of 1 who have been diagnosed with a food allergy to the food to which they're allergic.
We get very tiny amounts slowly built up into their system, and we need to do it in our offices.
Hong says of the children who took part in their peanut oral immunotherapy study, 91% ended up being able to tolerate large amounts of peanuts without a severe reaction. She says the rest were still able to be exposed to multiple peanuts at a time. Researchers believe that means those children may not have to worry about accidental peanut exposures.
They are at an ice cream shop and they want to get ice cream, but as long as they avoid the peanut containing ones, they'll be able to tolerate small amounts of contamination.
Dr. Hong also warns that the oral immunotherapy should only be done under the supervision of a trained allergist because it may still cause an allergic reaction. Well, Democratic voters are asking the Wisconsin Supreme Court to draw new legislative boundaries. Democratic voters and Governor Tony Evers told the liberal-controlled state Supreme Court that it should create new maps by March that would force every lawmaker to be up for election under the redrawn lines in 2024. The Republican-controlled state legislature argued that the court should take their time if they draw new maps. They say the soonest new maps should be enacted is the 2026 election. Liberal Justice Ann Walsh Bradley's term ends in 2025, meaning that the liberal justices may no longer have a majority by then. Last month, the GOP-controlled Wisconsin Senate voted to fire the state's top elections official. Now, Republican lawmakers have admitted that that vote has no legal effect. Leaders of the Republican-led legislature said in court documents filed late last week that the vote to fire Election Commission's administrator Megan Wolfe was, quote, symbolic. They went on to say the vote meant to signal their disapproval of her performance. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu, State Senate President Chris Kapenga, and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos also admitted Wolfe's decision to stay in office since her term expired on July 1st is lawful. Governor Tony Evers is directing millions of federal dollars to continue a pandemic-era child care program. Evers announced he will use $170 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency pandemic response operations to keep child care counts running. Funding for that program was set to end in January 2024. The new money will keep it going until June 2025. While State Senator Brad Pfaff is excited to see further investment into the program, he knows it's a temporary solution. He says now is the time for the legislature to come together and take some meaningful action on child care.
We can't just kick this down the road forever. We actually have to be able to come together and find common ground. If you're listening to the people here in Western Wisconsin, you are hearing that child care is so very, very important. It's time the legislature gets busy.
Child care accounts gives child care providers money to help retain staff as well as cover curriculum, utility, and rent costs. In his release, Governor Evers says since 2020, the program has allowed providers to continue care for more than 113,000 kids. Minnesota cannabis regulators are sounding the alarm after finding issues with some THC products that are being sold in the state. Johan Kaplan takes a look at how the state's new Office of Medical Cannabis is making sure sellers are following Minnesota's new marijuana laws.
The transition happened over the summer. Board of Pharmacy to the Office of Medical Cannabis under the umbrella Department of Health. The good news, medical cannabis, they know cannabis, but they only had 2 inspectors for 2 manufacturers. Now there's a registration of 2,600. Among them is Hemp House in St. Paul, and owner Logan Connickson said one of those inspectors visited last month.
Just making sure all of our product and everything is labeled properly. We've been really on top of making sure that we are compliant with whatever regulations are going on right now.
The key regulation for THC products is how much THC per serving, no more than 5 milligrams, and per package, no more than 50 for food, 10 milligrams for drinks. Health inspectors have made about 80 visits so far, and 4 out of 5 times they've found something wrong. But the amount of THC isn't the problem.
Vapes is probably the most common non-compliant product that we're seeing. The second thing that we're seeing in terms of most non-compliant are products that we would consider synthetics. Those are not naturally found in the plant. Those are human created.
For now, officials say the answer to non-compliance is education. Repeat offenders, though, could face cease and desist orders and fines up to $10,000.
We really want people to have trustworthy businesses. We want consumers to feel that they can trust the business. And so we want to just start that foundation in our initial visits.
And those visits will increase. The health department plans to add 6 more inspectors, 3 times as many as there are right now.
The Office of Cannabis Management will replace the Office of Medical Cannabis's role on all marijuana regulations in Minnesota in 2025. Now here's Derek to tell us what to expect for our morning commute.
All right, thanks so much for that, Dua. Very low visibilities here continue to come in across the Coulee region, anywhere between around 0 to a mile here from Eau Claire and into La Crosse. If you're in Sparta, maybe a little bit better at 4 miles, but still very low in Winona. We're currently looking at 0 mile visibility. So use your low beam headlights and give yourself some extra time this morning on your commute. We got frost advisories in effect for Jackson, Monroe, east into Adams and Juneau County until 7 o'clock this morning. Protect your plants, try to bring them inside, or at the very least try to cover them up so they're not completely exposed to the cold. We got temperatures in the low 30s, right at the freezing mark for Black River Falls and also into Sparta. Volkfield's at 28, so La Crosse is at 39 degrees. Forecast overall today, 64. After that foggy start, it will turn milder. Temperatures there warming up. Winds out of the southwest 5 to 10. As we head into tonight, 47 degrees. Mostly cloudy skies, not as cool though, with temperatures and south winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Mowing forecast for today, a little foggy and cool out there in some spots, but then as we head towards noon, mostly sunny, 55. If you want warmer temperatures to mow, I'd recommend around 5 o'clock, 61 degrees, with a little bit more cloud cover to work with. A last check on that full weather forecast is still ahead. We'll talk about some rain chances coming up this week and also coming up in our Buzz Report. How much would you pay to be willing to pay for a piece of Star Wars history? An auction in Texas sold one prop from the original film for over $3 million. We'll tell you what it was in just a few minutes. Well, very foggy weather conditions continue across the Coulee region. Look at that city cam there in the background showing all of those very poor visibilities. They are noted, and you can see it here on the map showing where visibilities are at their lowest. We got 0 miles currently being reported in Eau Claire, 1 mile currently in downtown La Crosse, and you can see everyone else looking at some pretty low visibilities this morning. So use your low beam headlights and give yourself extra time on your morning commutes. Besides the fog in La Crosse, we're currently at 39 degrees with our temperature. East-southeast winds at 6 miles per hour for our winds. And as we head into Eau Claire, temperatures are currently at 31, so just below that freezing mark with the foggy conditions, which are currently being measured 0 for our visibility there, and winds are looking nice and calm. Keep in mind, we still have frost advisories in effect until 7 o'clock this morning for Jackson, Monroe, and also into Adams and Juneau County, again until 7 o'clock. So make sure that if you do have any outdoor plants or outdoor sensitive vegetation, bring them inside if you can, or at the very least cover them up so they're not completely exposed to these temperatures, which are currently into the low 30s for our eastern communities, even to the upper 20s. Right now it's 28 in Volkfield. Back towards the west, though, where we don't have those frost advisories, it's a bit warmer, 37 degrees currently in Winona. It'll be 39 and foggy here still at 7 o'clock, but then 55 and mostly sunny is what our conditions will be at noon today. We may see a little bit more clouds, but temperatures will be warmer at 64 degrees at 4 o'clock, followed by some clearing skies and then temperatures dropping a bit to 54 degrees at 8 o'clock this evening, with forecast high numbers today in the 60s. A little bit mild here for today in La Crosse with a high of 64 for you and a high of 60 degrees this afternoon if you're in Eau Claire. So again, those cloudy skies and foggy conditions do continue throughout much of the morning, at least through about 10 o'clock, and that's when we'll start to see some clearing. A few clouds here move in as we head into the 5 o'clock hour, but not nearly as cloudy and foggy as what it is right now, though. As we head into tonight, we're going to increase the cloud cover associated with this low pressure system moving in from the west, and as it continues to move in, the cloudiness will continue into the day tomorrow, and also by tomorrow afternoon around 2 o'clock, that's when we can expect some scattered showers to take shape across the Coulee region, giving us some beneficial rain here to work with across the area. And the rain here may even linger as we head into Wednesday night, but we may not be quite done with it because, as you can see on the 8-day forecast, some of those showers could linger into the forecast through at least Friday before finally drying out as we head into this weekend and also into early next week, with highs mainly in the 50s and 60s and low temperatures in the 40s.
In our morning Buzz report, football fans are in for a little extra treat this Thanksgiving. That's because music legend Dolly Parton will be playing one of the NFL's Thanksgiving games. The country star will be performing at halftime for the game between the Dallas Cowboys and Washington Commanders. Parton's performance will kick off the Salvation Army's holiday fundraising season. The 77-year-old was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last fall.
Red 5 standing by.
A Star Wars model used to film the famous final battle scene in the original movie has sold at auction for more than $3.1 million. It was originally priced at only $400,000. The sale makes it the most expensive Star Wars prop in history. Believed lost for decades, the prop was discovered in the house of its designer, who died last year. In total, the auction went on to raise $13.6 million.
The Navajo Nation is the largest tribe in the United States, 27,000 square miles that we have to patrol. To offer the basic police services, we would need 500 officers. We have 180.
Quite frankly, our lives are at stake.
An HBO original documentary will look at the law enforcement crisis faced by the Navajo Nation. It follows a group of Navajo police recruits over the course of 1 year as they learn what it takes to protect and serve a Native American reservation that covers more than 27,000 square miles. Navajo Police Class 57 is out on Max today. The National Museum of Women in the Arts will reopen in Washington, D.C. this weekend. To kick off the reopening, the museum will offer a members preview Friday, a formal reopening on Saturday, and a free day on Sunday. The reopening comes after a $67 million renovation project, which took more than 2 years. The museum describes itself as the first major museum just for female artists. Tickets for the opening events can be found on the museum's website.
Pretty cool news there on the museum. I haven't been to a museum in a little bit, but I've been to my fair share. Are you a fan of museums out
yeah.
there?
There's a ton in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they do 3 days frequently throughout the year, so you don't have to pay. And I went to DePaul, but I think this is for all Chicago colleges. The Art Museum is free for all college students every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So
I love the Art Museum. I've been there.
Yeah, they encourage
really
you
cool
to go to the museum.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you got to check out that Art Museum.
Yeah, it's got the giant lions outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Iconic.
It's fantastic.
It is.
The History Museum, and there's this, I think this is in the kids section of the History Museum in like the Chicago history area. They have these huge magnets and this plush hot dog bun, and you learn how to make a traditional Chicago dog.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, so that was like my biggest memory. I was like, there's this giant pickle spear that you're just making. Yeah. So
not something you see too often in a typical museum.
Exactly. Lots of interactive museums, plus the Science and Industry Museum is also fantastic.
Yeah.
Love museums.
Absolutely.
Well, before we head to break, it's time for today's Look Who's 8.
We got one birthday today that we're celebrating. It's to Cooper, who is turning 8 years old. Now he loves hunting, fishing, and the Minnesota Twins.
Well, if you know a special someone turning 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years, 18, 80, or 88, we'd love to feature them.
That's right. Just upload their photo to our website, news8000.com, and look for the Submit Pictures button under the Home tab on our website.
Stay with us. We have everything you need to know today in 5 minutes or less. Your Morning News Now is up next. In your morning news now, Democratic voters are asking the Wisconsin Supreme Court to draw new legislative boundaries. Democratic voters and Governor Tony Evers told the liberal-controlled state Supreme Court that it should create new maps by March that would force every lawmaker to be up for election under the redrawn lines in 2024. The Republican-controlled state legislature argued that the court should take their time if they draw new maps. They say the soonest new maps should be enacted is the 2026 election. Liberal Justice Ann Walsh Bradley's term ends in 2025, meaning that the liberal justices may no longer have a majority by then. Last month, the GOP-controlled Wisconsin Senate voted to fire the state's top elections official. Now, Republican lawmakers have admitted that the vote has no legal effect. Leaders of the Republican-led legislature said in court documents filed late last week that the vote to fire Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf was, quote, symbolic. They went on to say the vote meant to signal their disapproval of her performance. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu, Senate President Chris Kapanga, and Assembly Speaker Robin Voss also admitted Wolf's decision to stay in office since her term expired on July 1st is lawful. Governor Tony Evers is directing millions of federal dollars to continue a pandemic-era child care program. Evers announced he will use $170 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency pandemic response operations to keep child care counts running. Funding for that program was set to end in January 2024. The new money will keep it going until June 2025. While State Senator Brad Pfaff is excited to see further investment into the program, he knows it's a temporary solution. He says now is the time for the legislature to come together and take some meaningful action on child care.
We can't just kick this down the road forever. We actually have to be able to come together and find common ground. If you're listening to the people here in Western Wisconsin, you are hearing that child care is so very, very important. It's time the legislature gets busy.
Child Care Counts gives child care providers money to help retain staff as well as cover curriculum, utility, and rent costs. In his release, Governor Evers says since 2020, the program has allowed providers to continue to care for more than 113,000 kids. People across the Coulee region flocked to Viterbo University to hear the president's own United States Marine Band. The group stopped by as a part of their annual tour. The band was established by an act of Congress in 1798. At 225 years old, the group is the oldest continuously active professional musical organization in America. Their main goal is to provide music for the President of the United States. It's an annual tradition for the band to tour throughout the month of October. In 31 days, the band plays 29 concerts. The director says the tour is a fun change of pace for the group.
We have so much fun getting out away from Washington, out into these communities, performing for thousands of people every night. Every night feels like a special event. It's truly one of the most motivating things that we do all year, whether in Washington or anywhere else.
The director estimates that they play music at the White House over 300 times a year. All members are active duty Marines, but their contracts have them permanently stationed in D.C. The holiday train is making its way back to the Coulee region. The train will be in the La Crosse area on December 5th. Known for its brightly decorated cars and professional live music concerts, the train begins its 2023 tour on November 20th. The tour aims to raise money and awareness for food banks. It also makes a donation to a local food shelf at each of its stops. For more details on where and when it will be stopping throughout the Coulee region, head to our website, news8000.com.
Already talking about that before Halloween. Crazy. The holiday train. Let's talk about today's planner. Off to a very foggy start here through at least now until about 9 to 10 o'clock this morning. That is when that fog should clear out. And then the rest of the day, we're going to be turning milder with temperatures in the 60s, a mix of sun and clouds, a light southwest wind at 5 to 10. Now tomorrow, I think you'll need the rain gear handy. We're going to be looking at chances of seeing some scattered showers tomorrow through Friday. Highs into the 60s, and it looks like this weekend we dry out there and also into early next week.
That rain's definitely going to help with the fall colors, or is it too late for that?
Yeah, it might be a little late for that, but I think it will help with the drought though, so that's good.
I suppose. Oh,
we need it.
So I had gone to Minnehaha Falls over the weekend, which is in the cities, and they have a waterfall there.
Oh, cool.
And everyone there was telling me that while the waterfall was running that weekend, it was just like trickling because of the drought. Like there was no water, and I thought that was so fascinating.
Yeah.
I thought about your drought monitor. Once people told me that, I was like, darn, Derek would enjoy this
that's
piece
when
of
you
information.
Know, yeah, that's when you know we need the rain. When you see stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching News 8 Now this morning. We'll see you back here later today at noon. Have a wonderful Tuesday.